Now, the compute has different aspects in AWS. What I'm focusing today on is on compute done by Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. That is what we call EC2 in a short form. So we'll discuss what EC2 is, how it works, why we need it. So let me take a little bit of back step and talk about how computes was done initially. What was the traditional approach we had? So in traditional approach of servers, what we used to do, we would have a physical server. You name the vendor, Dell, IBM, HP, it could be anyone, and those vendors would give you the compute power. Once you have this physical hardware applied into your data center or racked and stacked, what you would do, you would need some operating system running on top of it. It would be Windows, it could be Linux, it could be Solaris, depending on what type of applications you want to run. And once this is done, then you would start deploying your application, which could be .NET, could be Java, Python. It purely depends on how your application is configured. And once this is ready, you are able to host your application. The problem with this approach was it was good for a very long time, but then we started realizing that our servers are becoming powerful and powerful. They have lots of CPU now, lots of RAM available. Now, if I consider what a server used to look like 5 years before, probably a laptop would have more processing power than that server now. So every time we have lot of component being added into the server, performance is increasing. And if we look at that, how much I am actually using that server, probably it was just 5 to 10% of utilization, which is basically waste of the resource that I don't want everyone to waste 5 or 10% and just keep on working on paying money and paying some lot of stuff. So this is not a good thing. We don't want that. So then came the idea of virtualization. What we did in virtualization approach, we took the same physical server and on top of it, we started installing hypervisors. These are coming from different companies like VMware, Hyper-V, Oracle Virtual Machine. These are the software component which act as an operating system, but is a very fine-tuned operating system. And on top of that operating system, we would start creating virtual machine. So that is what a virtual machine is, which is a component running on a hypervisor and leveraging the physical hardware, but not directly through an hypervisor, it is leveraging it. And once I have a virtual machine created, on top of it, I can install our operating system. And once our operating system is ready, obviously I can have an application running. So this was a compartmentalized approach where we did what we have used the same physical hardware, but by leveraging hypervisors on top of it, we are able to run multiple virtual machine, and each of the virtual machine could be running a different operating system, a different application. So Hyper-V from Microsoft, yes, exactly. Hyper-V is a Microsoft hypervisor. VMware calls their hypervisor ESXi or vSphere, and Oracle has different naming for that. So once we started using this approach, advantage was that we were able to have a higher utilization for our server. Think like that instead of having an individual house where only one family is living, what we started doing, we started putting a building, and in that building there can be multiple families living, and they could be sharing some stuff like maybe the lift, the staircases, maybe the swimming pool or garden, but still they have their own compartments or own way of living and having privacy. So that is a way where virtualization came in. So think of virtualization as a way to utilize the same piece of land but with more tenant inside, so that you could have a better approach towards utilizing your services. So that's how your virtualization came into picture. So we use virtualization. When I talk now specifically about Amazon, let's see how our approach is. So in traditional way, if you want to deploy a virtual machine, you would need a hypervisor coming from these vendors. Hardware, probably hardware agnostic, you could have a Dell, IBM, HP hardware, it doesn't matter. What we do now, we have come up with our approach called AWS approach. Now, the service we are discussing here, EC2, is called virtual server into the cloud. So it is still a virtual server, but it is operating into cloud. And this service, I would say at least is 15 years old. So in 15 years, we have, as a company, AWS identified that we were able to identify that, hey, what kind of best combination works for us in terms of hardware, what software should be there, what kind of configuration should be there. So we started looking for the best and optimized way to run this virtual machine, and that manifested into a solution which we now call a Nitro system. So instead of keeping and getting vendor specific hardware, vendor specific software, what we did, we were able to create a system which we call Nitro, and which is combination of hardware and software. It's a purpose built hardware and software combination, fine tuned purely to run Amazon EC2 machines on top of it. And we have removed unnecessary component and added the component which could optimize the performance of our application and our virtual machine. So that's how we have created this Nitro system. And once this Nitro system is ready and functional, customer don't directly see Nitro system. What a customer interacts with the instance. So instance is in a way what we call virtual machines. So instance is a virtual machine. That instance would have an operating system, and then there would be applications running on that. Vijay has a question like which hypervisor we use. Initially, if I remember correctly, it was Zen. It was a very customized version of Zen. I don't think we use it anymore. This Nitro system, as I said, Vijay, it is a hardware and software combination. So we have customized our specific hardware and specific operating system, because maybe that Zen or KVM has something which we do not need. So we removed that component and we highly customize. So that's what Nitro system is all about. Okay, so we use Nitro system to run our application. So how much percentage of EC2 is Nitro? I don't think we publish that information, but I would say that any new machines you launch, any new instance type, they are probably coming from Nitro. But percentage wise, I don't think that would be a number available somewhere, because in different region, in different availability zone, that component may be there. Is EC2 similar to Kubernetes? Answer is no. Kubernetes is a orchestration service for container. It is not a hypervisor. Kubernetes maintains the container once they start. So EC2 is exactly is a VM. It is exactly a VM. Thanks, Alex. Yes, Kamesh, it is a EC2. Will we also have a session about Docker and Kubernetes? It depends. We will see that how much basic components we can cover. And if we have time, I would be happy to walk you through the Kubernetes component. All right. So on this hypervisor Nitro system, we may have multiple instances running. So two things you have to be clear here. Service is called Amazon EC2, and on the service we have a component running which is called instance. So service is what AWS would manage for you. We would take care of this service for you, and you as a customer, you start by creating, hey, I am looking to create a instance, I am looking to create a operating system of Windows. So you focus on creating instance.